I'm very proud of General Milley for saying that President Trump is a total fascist. To Bob Woodward, if he, as chairman of the Joint Chiefs, is calling the president a fascist, I'm so proud of him for breaking that barrier. The challenge is because most MAGA Republicans, they don't understand what fascism is. The reality is that they are, in fact, fascists themselves.
Watch what happens when Kennedy presses him on this.
Would it be fair to say that the broken southern border is man-made?
It would be fair to say that, sir, based on policies that have been implemented.
And that man's name is Joe Biden, isn't it?
That would be a fair assessment, yes, Senator.
Under President Biden, if you wait in line for legal immigration, you're a chump, aren't you?
Wow.
When you look at the benefits that have been given to people and the speed at which they've been released into the United States, I would be chagrined if I were waiting.
You're a chump, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
General,
Yes,
you
sir.
believe in open borders, don't you?
I believe in the rule of law, sir.
Right. And it makes you angry that President Trump does not believe in open borders, doesn't it?
Senator, I'm not here to discuss immigration policy. I'm here to discuss whether or not we use the military to enforce it.
And it makes you angry that most Americans don't believe in open borders, doesn't it?
Not in the slightest, sir. Again, I am not here to discuss the immigration policy.
Yeah. Duty, honor, respect, you talked about that
Yes,
in
Senator.
your opening statement. On October 14th of this year, you went on CNN. I want to read you what you said, make sure I'm accurate. Here's what you said. President Trump is not like any sane leader. I'm very proud of General Milley for saying that President Trump is a total fascist. To Bob Woodward, if he, as chairman of the Joint Chiefs, is calling the president a fascist, I'm so proud of him for breaking that barrier. The challenge is because most MAGA Republicans, they don't understand what fascism is. The reality is that they are, in fact, fascists themselves.
Let's break down the idea of fascism just for a second here. Generally, when you're a fascist, for the most part here, you are against anyone that thinks differently, says different things, they have a different kind of way of life. You're against all of these things here. But it's interesting, whenever I kind of sit and think about that here and kind of attribute it immediately to parties, it's always like, which one is down for the idea of cancel culture more than the other? But which one is more so kind of in your face about the idea of, if you don't think the same way as I think, then we need to go ahead and get rid of you specifically because you're a bad person spreading an ideology that I specifically do not agree with here. And it's generally not something I will immediately attribute to the right whenever I do think of that immediately. That sounds more like this person here is speaking to a group of people, but I don't specifically agree with what that person is saying, so we need to go ahead and end his existence. That generally is the left.
Senator, I am happy to discuss my personal perspectives with you separately at any time. That's not the purpose of the hearing today.
Did I read that accurately?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. You think you're smarter than the American people, don't you?
Absolutely not, Senator. I am here to discuss the use of the military as part of this mass deportation.
You think you're more virtuous than the American people, don't you, General?
Senator, I am insulted by your comment.
Duty, honor, and respect. You talked about that in your opening statement, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Moran said, I wrote down her words. She said, by their actions, you know what someone's character is like. You agree with that?
Senator, for 35 years, I served my country with absolute honor and distinction, and I will continue to do so.
You agree with what Ms. Moran said?
Of course.
Firstly, number one here, thank him for his service. Understand this here. We're not going to sit here and levy insult upon him because he has a different ideology, specifically from the groupthink that's currently that exists. Let's just say this here: utilizing the military for the sole purpose of like border patrol or control, specifically, is an interesting thing. I think when it first happened, I was just like, yeah, I don't know how this is going to work here. This sounds like we're going to be enacting, let's say, the Insurrection Act, et cetera, that never actually came to fruition. So, okay. But now, utilizing the National Guard specifically, okay, in some of these border places to make sure that the cartel is not kind of coming through here, I'm not sure that's a problem because that's kind of what they're for. Our nation at this specific time is being invaded from our southern and northern border in certain parts. So why not utilize the National Guard specifically? I see no problem with that. I'm sure there'll be some that'll find like a massive issue with that, but I see no problem specifically with that here. But now the idea of a general, most likely a high-ranking general, is calling the President of the United States of America a fascist is interesting. Obviously, he has his own opinion. Is he still an active general or is he a retired general? He did mention that he said he served, so that most likely means he's retired. And if that's the case, then I mean, obviously his opinion is different. Because I'm sure if he was actually like in office, not in office, but like in that position currently at this time, he most likely would not have said that there. But you are definitely still responsible for your words, and he wasn't jailed for them. He was just brought here to kind of give a response for why a general is calling the President of the United States of America a fascist here. So that's an interesting thing to begin with. I'm not sure, even if you were now retired, that you should probably do that, specifically knowing that your previous station at least was what it was here, guys, right? Guys, I love receipts. I love them, right? I love when you guys send me things where the people cannot honestly walk away from their literal words here. Politics is a fickle thing here, guys, okay? And I mean super fickle. You can't hide, right? Like once you say something, like look at the Clintons, look at most of the Democrats in like the 1990s, right? Early 2000s. Listen to how they spoke about immigration. Listen to how they spoke about crime. Look at how they spoke about police. Look at how they propped up ICE, etc. All of these things here, right? And then just throw that back at them. Notice how none of them really ever come up with any type of response on how their opinions changed when we know why their opinions changed. Because you were bought, right? That's it here. That's let's just be completely honest here. You were bought, and you were bought by your base of absolute mass deviants, right? That are here for the sole purpose of sowing chaos and anarchy, it seems. Borders, ew, right? So if that's the overall mentality and ideology of the people who are now kind of, proliferating, specifically mainly on TikTok, right? I can imagine how you can now say, I think it's a good idea to start supporting this cause here. I think we have to, because that's where the votes are. This is why I don't trust Tim Walz, guys. I'm telling you. Like, I get it. Listen, all the fraud in Minnesota, and he's like, I'm not even going to call it out because I don't want to insult my voting base. Like, even if I'm not going to run again, understand this here. I still know that the next person that I name as like my successor, for the most part, they're still going to need to utilize the Somalian base. So we're not going to go ahead and say anything about some individuals, maybe potentially from a community. Was it all of them? Absolutely not, guys. Let's not play this game here. We're not ignorant over here, okay? Is it like a small subsection of them? Yeah, you call out the small subsection of them, bro, okay? Do that immediately. If the people are insulted that you called out, like 30, 50 people in an entire community of 100,000 people, if they're insulted that you did that, then maybe you don't need their vote. I'm just going to be honest, guys.